There's a moment every woman recognizes, that split second when you realize a man isn't just enjoying himself, he's completely undone, not rushing, not performing, not faking confidence, just fully present in his body. And here's the truth no one tells you: most men have never experienced that level of sensation in their entire lives. They think pleasure is something that happens to them, fast, predictable, mechanical. But what actually creates full body response, the kind that lingers in his nervous system long after the moment is over, has almost nothing to do with technique, speed, or copying what you've seen online. And that's why so many women feel frustrated. They're trying harder, doing more, giving more, and still feeling like something's missing. Today, I want to talk about one subtle shift. Not a graphic move, not a trick you memorize, but a psychological and emotional approach that changes how a man experiences pleasure in his entire body. When this is done right, men stop faking reactions, they stop rushing the moment, and they start responding in ways that feel raw, honest, and deeply connected. This isn't about performance, it's about presence. It's about control without force. And it's about why women who understand this don't need to compete. They're unforgettable. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll understand why 99% of men have never felt this, and why the women who do this one thing never get replaced. Most men have never been taught how to receive. From a young age, they're conditioned to perform, to impress, to do it right. Even in the most intimate moments, their minds are racing. Am I taking too long? Am I supposed to react more? Am I meeting expectations? That internal noise keeps them stuck in their heads, and when someone is in their head, they can't fully feel what's happening in their body. This is where so many women misunderstand what's missing. They think the solution is more effort, more intensity, more enthusiasm. But intensity without emotional safety actually pushes men further into performance mode. And performance kills full body sensation. Here's the truth that changes everything. Full body response begins when a man feels safe enough to stop proving himself. When a man senses, even subconsciously, that he's being evaluated, his body tightens. His breathing becomes shallow. His awareness narrows. Pleasure stays contained instead of expanding. But when that pressure disappears, his nervous system softens. And that's when sensation starts to travel. This has nothing to do with doing anything graphic or advanced. It starts with your energy, your pace, your calm. Women who create this shift don't rush moments. They aren't trying to get somewhere. Their presence says, there's no finish line here. You're allowed to be. That message alone is disarming. Think about how rare that is for men. Most of their lives, they're rewarded for control, not surrender, for composure, not vulnerability. So when they encounter a woman whose energy feels grounding instead of demanding, their body responds instinctively. Eye contact that isn't rushed, pauses that feel intentional, not awkward. A relaxed confidence that doesn't ask for validation. These things communicate safety more loudly than words ever could. And safety is what allows sensation to spread. Here's something important most people miss: the body can't fully open when it feels watched, judged, or timed. When you remove that invisible clock, when you let the moment breathe, his awareness drops out of his thoughts and into his body. That's when reactions stop being exaggerated or fake. They become quiet, then deeper, then unmistakably real. This is why some women leave a lasting imprint without doing anything extreme. Men don't always remember what happened, but they remember how regulated, calm, and present they felt in her presence. And once a man experiences pleasure without pressure, his body learns something new. It realizes intimacy doesn't have to be a performance. It can be an experience. That's the beginning of full body response. So if you take only one thing from this point, let it be this: you don't create deeper sensation by pushing, you create it by allowing. When you slow the emotional pace, you invite his nervous system to soften. And when that happens, his body does the rest naturally. This isn't about trying harder. It's about holding space, and that's something very few people know how to do. One of the biggest myths around intimacy is that doing more creates more impact, faster reactions. bigger moves, stronger intensity. But what most people don't realize is that the nervous system doesn't respond most powerfully to action, it responds to anticipation. Anticipation is where desire lives. Think about it, the moments that stay with us aren't always the loudest or most dramatic ones. They're the moments where time seemed to slow down, where something almost happened, where the pause itself felt charged. For men especially, anticipation activates a completely different layer of experience. It shifts them out of autopilot and into awareness. Instead of chasing the next step, their attention drops into the present moment. And when attention deepens, sensation follows. Here's where many women unintentionally short-circuit this process. They rush because they think that's what's expected. They move quickly because silence feels awkward. They fill space because they don't want the moment to lose momentum. But in reality, momentum doesn't come from speed. It comes from tension that's allowed to build. Anticipation tells his brain something meaningful is unfolding here. When you let moments linger just a fraction longer than expected, a look held, a pause unbroken, a calm stillness instead of immediate action, his nervous system wakes up, his body leans in, his awareness expands. This is subtle but incredibly powerful. A man who's anticipating isn't performing, he's feeling, his breathing slows, his focus sharpens, his body becomes more responsive, not because something dramatic is happening, but because he doesn't know what's coming next, and uncertainty, when paired with emotional safety, is intoxicating. This is why confidence matters so much here. Anticipation only works when it feels intentional, not hesitant. When your pauses feel grounded instead of unsure, they communicate control, not dominance. Control of pace. Women who master this don't rush to reassure. They don't rush to prove. They're comfortable letting desire stretch. And that comfort is magnetic. Here's something rarely talked about. Anticipation gives a man permission to stay connected to sensation instead of chasing release. It teaches his body that pleasure doesn't have to spike and end. It can roll. It can deepen. It can spread. That's when sensation stops being localized and starts involving the whole body. You're not teasing to manipulate. You're pacing to invite presence. And the effect is profound. Men often describe these moments later as feeling different or deeper, even if they can't explain why. They just know they felt more connected, more aware, more inside their body. That's the power of anticipation done right. So if you remember one thing from this point, let it be this: don't rush what's already working. Let the moment breathe. Let desire build in the space you don't fill, because when anticipation leads, the body follows, naturally, honestly, and fully. There's something incredibly powerful that happens when two people stop moving independently and begin moving in sync. Not physically in an obvious way, but emotionally, rhythmically, energetically. Most people don't realize this, but the body is constantly reading cues: breath, pace, tension, stillness. And when those cues align, the nervous system shifts into a state where deeper sensation becomes possible. This is where full body experience actually begins. When a man is tense, his breath is shallow. Short inhales, quick exhales, his body is preparing, controlling, bracing. That state is useful for performance, but terrible for deep sensation. Sensation doesn't expand in a guarded body. What changes everything is emotional synchronization. When your presence is calm and grounded, his body subconsciously mirrors it. Humans are wired for this. Our nervous systems are designed to co-regulate, meaning one calm system can soothe another. When you're unhurried, emotionally steady, and tuned in, his breathing naturally begins to slow. His muscles release. His awareness widens. This isn't something you force. It happens when you're truly present. Here's the key most people miss. You set the rhythm before anything else happens. Not by leading aggressively, but by being centered. By not rushing. By letting your breath stay deep and relaxed. By not trying to manage the moment. When your rhythm stays steady, it gives him permission to leave his head and enter his body. And once breathing sinks, everything else follows. At that point, sensation is no longer isolated, it starts to move. Not because something intense is happening, but because the body finally feels safe enough to notice what's already there. This is why some moments feel deeply immersive while others feel mechanical. It's not about what's happening on the surface, it's about whether two nervous systems are aligned. Women who understand this don't multitask emotionally. They aren't distracted. They aren't thinking 3 steps ahead. Their attention is anchored in now. And that presence is felt immediately. A man can sense when someone is truly with him versus just going through motions. When emotional sync happens, his reactions change. They become slower, more genuine, less performative. His body responds without effort because it's no longer being directed, it's being allowed. And here's the beautiful part: this kind of connection creates trust at a biological level. His body learns that being present with you feels regulating, grounding, expansive. That's why these experiences feel different afterward. They linger, not as a memory of something done, but as a memory of how his body felt. Most men don't have language for this. They just know something shifted, and that shift doesn't come from intensity. It comes from rhythm. So if you take one thing from this point, let it be this: slow, steady presence is more powerful than any action. When breath aligns, when pace softens, when attention stays rooted, the body opens naturally. That's when sensation becomes full-bodied. That's when connection deepens. And that's when intimacy stops being something you do and becomes something you share. Most men have spent their entire lives learning how to hold it together. Don't react too much. Don't lose control. Don't reveal vulnerability. Even in moments meant to be intimate, that conditioning doesn't magically disappear. It stays in the body. And this is where so many experiences fall flat. A man can be physically present, even enthusiastic, while emotionally guarded. He might look engaged, but internally he's still monitoring himself, still managing, still controlling. And when control is running the show, the body never fully opens. This is why emotional permission is everything. Emotional permission isn't something you say out loud. It's something you create. It's the quiet signal that tells his nervous system, you don't need to be impressive here. You don't need to be composed. Whatever happens is okay. That message is rare, and it's powerful. When a man feels permission instead of pressure, something shifts almost immediately. His body softens, his reactions slow down, his awareness drops deeper. He stops trying to anticipate what's expected and starts responding to what he's actually feeling. And here's the key distinction: permission is not encouragement to perform more, it's freedom to perform less. This is where so many people get it wrong. They think excitement comes from hype, from escalation, from pushing energy higher and higher. But the deepest responses come when a man realizes he doesn't have to manage himself anymore. Judgment is what shuts the body down. Even subtle judgment, the sense of being watched, evaluated, or timed, keeps his nervous system alert. But when judgment disappears, his body finally feels safe enough to let sensation move freely. And this is communicated through incredibly small things: a calm expression instead of urgency, a relaxed smile instead of expectation, stillness that feels intentional, not awkward. Those cues say, you're allowed to experience this however your body wants to. That's when reactions become honest instead of exaggerated. That's when responses feel organic instead of rehearsed. That's when the body stops bracing and starts releasing. What's fascinating is that many men don't consciously realize what's happening. They just know that something feels different, deeper, more real, more grounding. And here's the part women often underestimate. Men bond strongly with the person who gives them emotional permission, not the loudest person, not the most intense, the one who made them feel safe enough to let go. This kind of permission rewires association. His nervous system begins to connect you with relief, openness, and presence. And once that association is formed, it's incredibly hard to replace. Now let me pause here for a second, because I want to hear from you. KOM and BLOMU, have you ever been with someone who made you feel completely at ease, like you didn't have to perform or prove anything? Or have you noticed how different intimacy feels when pressure is removed? Your answer might help someone else watching this realize what's been missing. Back to the point. When emotional permission is present, the body doesn't rush. It doesn't fake. It doesn't tense. It responds naturally. And that natural response is what people mean when they talk about chemistry, even though chemistry is really just nervous system compatibility. Women who understand this don't chase reactions. They don't demand validation. They trust the moment. And that trust creates space for the body to fully participate. So if you take one thing from this point, let it be this: pressure kills depth, permission creates it. When you remove judgment and expectation, you allow the body to experience connection in its most honest form. And that's when intimacy stops being performative and starts being unforgettable. Here's the truth that very few people understand: attraction isn't just about looks or intensity or even technique. The kind of connection that leaves a man thinking about you long after the moment is over isn't superficial. It's neurological, emotional. And it comes from one thing: how you make him feel in his body and nervous system. Think about the last time you met someone who truly captivated you. Chances are it wasn't the way they moved or what they said, but how they made you feel.
Safe, seen, excited, calm, curious, alive.
That is the same for men, and it's exactly what women who understand full body response give without even trying. When you know how to create emotional safety, anticipation, rhythm, and permission, you're no longer just another person in the moment. You become a presence. Something a man associates with grounding, excitement, and a kind of depth he can't find anywhere else. Here's why this is so powerful. Most men have been conditioned to chase, to impress, to perform. They've been rewarded for control and composure, not for feeling. So when they meet someone who removes all of that pressure, who allows them to truly feel, their nervous system remembers it long after the moment ends. That's the kind of impression that makes you irreplaceable. It's not manipulative. It's not about tricks. It's about presence. It's about energy. When you hold space with confidence and calmness, when you pace moments intentionally, and when you allow him permission to relax, his body and mind start to link you with something unique, something deeper than attraction, something that becomes a kind of magnetic pull. And this is why women who understand this don't need to try harder. They don't need louder signals or exaggerated actions. Attention comes naturally. Engagement comes effortlessly. Men seek that presence not because of what's done to them, but because of what's allowed, the depth of experience they feel in her presence. The fascinating part: once a man experiences this, he can't easily forget it. Other experiences feel flat in comparison. The intensity isn't about what's happening externally, it's about what's happening inside. And that internal reaction is something you control simply through how you exist in the moment. This is why women who master emotional pacing, anticipation, and permission are often described as unforgettable. Men don't remember a checklist or a move. They remember the state you created. They remember the calm, the confidence, the presence, and the freedom to just be. That's magnetic, that's irreplaceable, and here's the empowering part: you don't have to try to create this. You don't have to change yourself. You don't have to follow anyone else's formula. You just have to understand the psychology behind presence and nervous system connection and embody it naturally. That's what makes you the kind of woman he can't stop thinking about, the kind of woman he associates with safety, excitement, and depth all at once. So if there's one takeaway here, it's this: your ability to make a man feel safe, unhurried, and emotionally free doesn't just improve connection in the moment, it changes how he remembers you forever. That is the essence of being irreplaceable. So let's take a moment to really recap what we've explored today. If you've been watching closely, you now understand that true intimacy, the kind that leaves a man completely present, fully relaxed, and utterly responsive, isn't about doing more, being louder, or trying to impress. It's about presence, emotional pacing, and the subtle ways you allow him to feel safe, seen, and fully connected. We talked about slowing down the moment and letting anticipation build, so he's engaged not just physically, but emotionally and mentally. We explored the power of sensing your energy, your rhythm, and even your breath with his, so his nervous system can relax, open, and respond naturally. And we discussed emotional permission, the secret to creating a space where he doesn't feel judged, rushed, or expected to perform, allowing his responses to be honest, genuine, and full-bodied. When you master these shifts, you're no longer just another person in the room. You become unforgettable, magnetic, irreplaceable. Men don't just notice it, they feel it at a cellular level. And that's the kind of connection that lingers long after the moment ends, long after the interaction is over. That is the kind of presence that leaves him thinking about you, wondering, reflecting, and wanting more without you needing to do anything extra. Now, I want you to take a moment and reflect which of these tips resonates with you the most. Which one are you excited to start using immediately? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Your insight might help another woman watching this discover a new way to deepen her own connection. And if you want more videos like this, practical, confidence building, and backed by psychology, make sure you like this video, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. Because once you understand the subtle, yet powerful shifts in presence, anticipation, rhythm, and emotional permission, you'll start seeing the difference in every connection you have. Remember, it's not about trying harder, it's about being intentional, grounded, and unforgettable. Presence beats performance. Anticipation beats intensity. Permission beats pressure. Apply these principles and watch not just his responses, but the way he remembers you completely transform. So go ahead, comment below, share your experience, and let's start this journey together, because your next level of magnetic, unforgettable presence starts today.